I don't even know what I want to say as an intro to this video, so you know what? We're just gonna go pretty popular YouTube animator that created his channel on Christmas Eve of 2014. Since then, he's garnered a massive audience, earning 1 million subscribers, and honestly, his content is pretty fun. He started out by making animations of stick figures, and right now, he still makes animations of stick figures, except it's much higher quality. There's a chance you guys who are watching that are not fully familiar with him might be familiar with at least one of his characters, known as Jack Copper. Since not only is Jack one of the first characters JzBoy has ever created on his channel, but I also feel like most of JzBoy's videos, especially his popular ones, had Jack as the main lead. And I feel like even if you don't know much about JzBoy, there's a good chance you've seen or at least heard of these animations he made where Jack was just in different video games, like Bendy and the Ink Machine, Baldi's Basics, Frickin' Goat. And then there's one series of animations that you guys might recognize from him. However, they're definitely not as iconic as his Bendy and Baldi ones, despite being older, and that's the Stickman vs. Terraria Bosses series. Most of you watching probably know what this game is, but if you don't, Terraria was a game that was created on May 16th, 2011, and it's a survival game where you do the classic survival game things, such as collecting resources, killing enemies, building a base, and fighting the different body parts of the deity of chaos, so overall it's a pretty normal game. This game was extremely popular, being able to be played on so many different platforms, and selling over 64 million copies. All for a game that I have never played before making this video. If you ask me, I've played Terraria now, and I just think it's a decent game. I would say it's good, but I haven't really played enough of it to really gauge that. But it's just kind of funny to me that the series that he made about the game that I'm not very interested in was more interesting to me than the series about games that I was actually interested in. Anyways, now that we've gone over the creator of this series and the game he made the series about, I think it's time we move on to the actual series itself. With a video on October 9th, 2015, titled Stickman vs. King Slime. He renamed this one to Original Version eventually, because even though this one is still canon to the series, he just decided to make another remastered King Slime fight that took place before this one. This animation only really consists of Jack trying to chop down a tree, King Slime comes in for no reason, and then Jack kills King Slime. That's pretty much all this amounts to. Most of these other entries would follow around the same basic formula. A character would do something that would cause the boss to appear, they fight the boss, and then they end up winning. With that said though, all these entries are usually very funny and are extremely action-packed. The characters may not talk, but their personalities and their traits are very well represented through all the different actions that they do throughout the series. And honestly, while I'll go in depth on each character individually later, I feel like the characters are what really make this series shine. I always love seeing any of these guys on screen, either because they're extremely charming or they're extremely fun to learn about. The action in the series is also really good. While it didn't start off as much in the earlier entries, usually being played off as a joke, they gradually got more and more interesting until eventually they just become pure eye candy to look at. Okay, now that I've talked about my general thoughts on the series, I want to talk about easily the best part of the series, and that's the characters, starting with, of course, Jack. Jack is a character who encompasses good traits of both being really silly with great character interactions, but also being serious when he needs to be. A lot of Jack's humor comes from either him being a punching bag to random events, or just him being either sarcastic or cowardly towards other characters. Most chances Jack gets to be funny always usually land, like that one time he just pulled out a normal-ass gun on one of the bosses and killed it. But like I said, he's also serious when he needs to be, and especially through his action scenes, they can be done really well. One of my favorite action moments from him was during the Destroyer, where after his Knight's Edge separates into the 4 swords you need to craft it, he then has to start getting back all the swords as he attacks all the minions of the Destroyer and dodging the Destroyer itself, and just eventually connecting the swords together into one big wheel. It was just a really cool fast-paced action moment with really satisfying combat. I don't need to say more, the scene speaks for itself. You know, with a character that encompasses a lot of different attributes, such as being funny, being a coward, being sarcastic, and also being very serious, I guess you could call him a jack of all traits. Overall, though, I really like Jack, and I feel like he's a great representation for the entire series as a whole. It's mostly goofy, but can be serious when it needs to sometimes. Following Jack in order of when they appeared in the series, we have Mermutiny. Mermutiny was the first character since Jack to be added to the series, and was introduced in the entry Stickman vs. Queen Bee. One big difference between her and Jack right off the bat is that, unlike Jack, she doesn't really have any, like, comedic moments. The only time in the series whenever she's being comedic in some way is mostly because she's playing off a different character, like Jack in this episode. I know I'm putting out this specific joke a lot, but I find it funny, okay? Now, while I do generally prefer characters that are funny in this series, the moments where the characters are serious at least give them a chance to show off their coolness, I guess. And, you know, that's the best way I can describe her, cool, because most of the time whenever she's in combat, she's always making it look awesome. All of her action scenes are fast-paced and over the top with different effects, and it's all just really cool. I also like her general design and the theming that goes with her design, with, like, this fish vibe going on. She got a redesign in Gollum, and I do think it's generally better, and while I do think there are some elements they could have kept from the original design, it definitely highlights more of the sea and fish-like attributes that she already had. She also does this thing often where she leaves, comes back, and leaves again. If I'm keeping count correctly, I'm pretty sure not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times has she left the group at random points. Like, do you want to be with these guys or not? Make up your mind! Another weird observation I wanted to mention is that pretty much most of the time that she's in an entry, she always has some sort of fish-related weapon. But I like that because it adds to her overall theming. Also, all the characters in this series, including Jack maybe just a little bit, are all kind of based off of some of JzBoy's actual friends who all have YouTube channels. And Mermutiny actually still posts on it sometimes, like she does live streams pretty often. So you know what, go check Mermutiny's streams out, so maybe it'll be good. Overall, Mermutiny is a character I really like, mostly because I get intrigued by whenever she's in an episode just to see what kind of cool thing she'll do. The next character we got, who was also introduced in the same video Mermutiny was introduced, is Coonboat. Out of all the characters in this series, Coonboat is definitely trying to be the most comedic, and to be fair, it does work sometimes because he can be pretty funny. One of his defining traits as a character is that sometimes he'll just be really lazy, and in entries like the Destroyer, instead of helping his friends fight it, he just sits around and watches them fight it while he's eating food and drinking. Probably his biggest defining character trait, though, is simply this orange juice stuff called Ong that he really likes. He's practically obsessed with it throughout the entire series, and in one instance during the Twins, when one of them destroyed his stash, he murdered them with such intensity that I bet if they were in hell, Satan would feel bad for them. And in that same video, his hat went from Luffy One Piece to Pirate, which is really not that much of a change, honestly. Honestly, I don't really have much else to say about him other than I like him. He still posts on YouTube, so I recommend you go check him out. And also, one time he did a Henry Stickmin face, and I think that's funny. The next character was introduced in The Wall of Flesh and is named Navishark. There's one big thing that makes Navishark stand out from every other character in the series, and it's that while he's a human, he's able to transform into a mechanical shark. I think this is a really cool ability for a character in this series to have, and while it is that way in some videos where he's just able to kill bosses with one hit, including a creature from hell, you then also have Skeletron Prime. The literal moment Navishark goes to attack Skeletron Prime grabs him, drills into him, and then throws him against a wall. This leaves Navishark on break for most of the fight, where he's just watching everyone else while drinking lava for some reason. However, just a little bit later, Skeletron Prime shoots Jack with a laser before Jack reflects it with this mirror, and then accidentally hits Navishark when he's ready to come back. I also need to bring up Navishark's reaction to after they beat Skeletron, which, I don't know how to explain with words, so I'm just gonna show it. I have an easier time understanding the Pythagorean theorem than trying to understand this clip. Now, while I might have just shown you guys something that seems pretty comedic, I would say that he's like Mermutiny with how he's not a very comedic character most of the time. Though unlike Mermutiny, I feel like he has a lot more like comedic moments, mostly by himself rather than just with other characters. The only other thing I really wanted to talk about with him was that in the Plantera video, he uses this book to spray people with yellow lasers, and every time I look at it, I'm just go, oh, that's the piss book. Because, I mean, is it not? Like, tell me, is it not? Anyway, once again, Navishark, pretty good character. Also, I think it's funny that with some episodes, it's a coin flip between whether he'll be strong enough to take down a building or too weak to take down a tree. And while there's still, like, side characters and whatever, the last of our main characters is Mina. She's a character with extremely outdated humor from the 2010s, and I love her for that. To show examples of her humor, during the twins entry when she defeats the pirates by taking down the ship, she then just gains MLG glasses for no reason, and she has them for like the rest of the series. And also, during the Skeletron entry, the first entry that she was introduced in, by the way, she is seen dabbing while she is running. Gotta be careful, Mina, you might be the next person on the dab police watch list.
You're in trouble. That's a violation.
Despite that, though, I still really like her, and it's not because I find that humor to still be funny, it's mostly just because I have an appreciation for that humor. Yes, I appreciate the big chunkus era of memes. Something could be wrong with me. Also, I feel like she expresses a lot more emotion than most of the other characters. Like, they can express a lot of emotion too, but she just does it the most. There's also a lot of moments, mostly in this one, where she's on screen and you can just pause the video to admire the frame that she's on, like this one, and also this one that I really liked for a long time and still do like. I don't know why I liked it, but I really like it. I think it looks funny. I call this one the trapezoid mouth. She's very funny and she's very silly, and honestly, those are the best two descriptors I can give as to why I like her so much. Also, I just wanted to point out that on her YouTube channel, she made a community post telling people to stop adding her on Twitter because she looks like the blue Dandy's World ghost, and I just think that's really funny. Now quickly, I also just wanted to mention the character Mr. Fallen Star, who's not really a main character, but he appears quite often throughout the series, kind of just as a joke character. Again though, he doesn't really do much outside of just showing up occasionally and saying something funny. The funniest thing about him to me though, is that he can just one-shot bosses, like with Eye of Cthulhu and the Destroyer, which ended up destroying my ear canals more than anything. I could talk about other characters like the nurse who just constantly dies all the time, or this fish, but I don't feel like it. So now moving on from that, I want to talk about the trailers that released on April Fool's Day for a few of the entries in the series. There's only actually 3 of these trailers, but I really like all of them. Now remember earlier when I said that Mina's personality is very outdated 2010s humor? Well, the trailers are basically just what if they were the 2010s humor. All these videos follow the same basic structure, where they play an old, outdated meme song with text that's flashing rainbow colors that says, "What day is it today?" And then about halfway through the video, rainbow lights show up and everyone is dancing. When I was a little bit younger, I was mostly obsessed with the Plantera one, because that one, I would just constantly, like, change the audio to be, like, a different copyrighted song that I thought just worked well with the visuals. And I'd always have the general parts of the song at the beat drop, always put it in the correct spots. And also, while these are April Fool's Day jokes, they also in a way work as trailers, since they tease the very next video that ends up coming out for the series. They even show the characters doing things that they would later do in the final video. Also, something I want to point out with these videos is that not only is the meme music they use outdated today, but it was outdated when they had originally made the video. Every single one of them, from When Ma Isn't Home to the Harlem Shake to the Crab Rave. But I don't say this to be mean. In fact, I'm on their side because I used the Crab Rave in a video I uploaded last year. Anyway, that's all I really wanted to mention about these videos. They're just fun, sweet little videos for April Fool's Day, and honestly, not too much else to say about the... Hey, wait a minute, why are you here? Not only did you leave the series in the video before Plantera, but you didn't even show up in Plantera! Why are you here? Get out! Okay, one last quick thing I wanted to mention before I move on to the next section is that apparently one of the April Fool's Day jokes that JzBoy made actually got a photo in Terraria itself, which is honestly pretty cool. The fact that the Terraria developers know about the series makes me really happy. Now that's all I have to say about the actual main series, but there's something related to this series that's not made by the creator that I just really wanted to share. Covered kind of recently, but I really wanted to mention it because when I watched them, they were like the best things ever. One of the reasons I enjoy these voiceover videos is because I knew that the people that were making these were having the time of their life doing so. Because of that factor alone, it makes me enjoy these videos way more, and it also made me think, you know, maybe there is some good in the world. There's only 2 YouTubers I saw that actually did this, and I'm gonna take a look at both of them. The first one of these channels I saw making this type of content was the YouTube channel ProGoingGo202. These videos are weirdly wholesome in a way, and I think that's because that aside from Jack and possibly a few other characters that are voiced by ProGoing, everyone else is voiced by one of ProGoing's friends, and I just really like that. I think that's really cool that he got his friends on board to do this. The dialogue they decided to add in was, you know, bog standard, but I'm not gonna get mad at anything. Plus, none of it's, like, actually bad. I just, you know, I'm just pointing out the dialogue, because, you know, you can't have a voiceover if you don't add dialogue to a series that doesn't have dialogue. Everyone also does a very good job voicing over each of their characters, and I think the voices that they provide for each of the characters work with the character's personality very well. My personal favorite of them being Coonboat, since it highlights his general childlike actions that he usually does. Also, I need to talk about Progoing's performance as Jack, not because of any necessary line that he says, but because of the way he screams in some of these videos. In some of the earlier videos where Jack screamed, it kind of just sounded like he was recording it at like 3 AM while his parents were asleep.
Ah! Slice! Huh?
And other times, it sounds like this.
Oi! You're my friend now.
Where the hell did this come from? First you were screaming as if you were in the library, and now you're screaming like you want your vocal cords to break. Like with that clip, there was a lot of other clips that I managed to find that were just very memorable of them either making a certain noise or them just saying a certain line that I thought was very funny. For example, there's this one scene in The Wall of Flesh where the Wall of Flesh grabs Mermutiny after it passes by her. Sophie Kun, the person that voices Mermutiny and Mina in this video, starts making really aggressive choking sounds, which does fit considering that it kind of does look like Mermutiny in the scene is being strangled. I just really find it funny because I really was not expecting this aggressive of sounds. Someone should hire her to be a voice actor. She's clearly got some talent. She also did a good job as Mina. I like her in all departments. I know I mentioned it already, but again, I like Cartoon Man's voice as Coonboat. He just really sells like the joyous and whimsical vibe that Coonboat just has to himself. And again, funny sounds. If you want to watch the compilation they made of every single video they dubbed, then go ahead to the description where I've linked it. Keep it up, Progoing. I like your stuff. I like it. Also, I wanted to point out that these videos are recorded in a VR chat lobby for no other reason other than I found out that Sophie knows what good media is. And the other channel I wanted to talk about that also does these voiceover videos is Lance Cup. And there's a chance that these videos might be some of the best videos ever uploaded to YouTube, with the source being myself. Unironically, I really like these videos, mostly because I can tell that Lance Cup was just having a blast making them. And there was just so many moments here that I either wasn't expecting or just found really funny. I mean, Coonboat makes more funny noises, what more could you want? Now, while Progoing had multiple people doing the voices for each of the characters, he is the only voice actor in this series. But you know what, I'm completely fine with that because that somehow makes this series really enjoyable. He also made a new channel at some point where it kind of just looked like the exact same thing as his old one. But the great part about this one is that now he hit puberty, so he went from Lance Cup to Lance Mug. Another thing I gotta point out with these videos is the thumbnails for them, because oh boy are they something. He basically just takes the original thumbnail, and then whatever characters that are on it that don't have a mouth, he just draws a mouth onto them. And often it looks very funny, like this one where he just gave Jack an Astef movie-looking mouth. Unfortunately though, the most recent ones don't have these funny-looking thumbnails, and it's just a still image from the actual video itself, which makes me sad. I want these back. Lance Cup, if you're watching this and you plan to make a dub of Gollum, you can use my thumbnail right here. Also, again, I want to point out how every single character is voiced by the same guy, and aside from some of the boss characters, he doesn't really try and do, like, a voice with them. So, whenever they have to say the same thing together, it's really funny.
Let's go! Come here, pirates! Where are you?
It gives the same vibe as that video of Markiplier's intros being played all at once. There's also this one time he used this very specific scream for Mina, and I actually genuinely thought it was him, but then I looked into the description of one of his videos and found out, oh wait, no, it's from a YouTube channel hosted by James Accordion. Also, why did I think this was him? I don't know. While there's a lot of funny lines I could go over, there's one particular line that, in no matter what reality, I could not have seen coming. It was this specific moment from his very first Plantera dub.
Come here, black person.
What? That's racist!
Not once in my life did I ever expect to hear a stick figure call Plantera from Terraria racist. It's not even that I hate this, it's just that it caught me so off guard and it was so funny when I first heard it. Also, in case you were worried, don't be. Because he brought it back again in his redub.
Come here, black person.
What? That's racist.
And that's pretty much all I wanted to show today. I heavily recommend you go check out everything that I just talked about in this video. Go check out JzBoy's series, go check out go check out Lance Cup. They all make really fun videos, and I was planning to make this video a lot longer, but all the files at one point got deleted if you saw my one now unlisted video, and it made me lose a lot of motivation to work on this video, but I'm still glad that I can make it in the first place, and thank you to JzBoy for making this series. It was really good, and I wanted to make sure more people heard about it. Anyways, see ya.
Come here, black person.
What? That's racist.
What? That was not a very wacky and zany phrase. What is wrong with you?